Greetings, everyone. This is National Master Mike Saylor, and today we are going to be going over part 2 of my video lecture series on Rook and Pawn Endgames. During the first episode, we learned on the placement of the rooks, and we generally want the rooks to be behind the pawns, regardless of whether it's yours or your opponent's, to keep your rook as active as possible. Now we're going to be looking at what happens if you're down a pawn, and for this series we're going to be just looking at the rook and the knight pawn. How do you draw it? So if we take the current position, white has a passed rook pawn. Each side has a rook and white has an extra rook pawn. In this particular position, where black wants to put his king is in front of the pawn to stop it. You always want to have your king in front of the pawn to stop it from queening, as opposed to the rook. The rook is a very bad piece to try to block a pawn by the simple fact that the rook is meant to be an active piece. So in this particular position, if it's white to move, they would probably want to place the rook on the rank to block from checks. Well, the unique position of the rook, where white can only come from one side in order to harass black's king. In these particular positions, all black needs to do is just play a passive defense. It's one of the few exceptions with rook and pawn endgames where you don't actually want to play that active, because white has absolutely no way of breaking through. So if we just look at a few moves, black can just continue to shuffle his rook on the first rank, and he can just continue to do that, because at some point, if white wants to make progress, they're going to probably have to, say, play their rook to the seventh rank, and then all black has to do is just continue to check, and there's really not much they can do. Even if you could get the perfect position for white, there's still no way to win, because black can just still play passively, and white has absolutely no way of breaking through. As we can see here. And even if white ever could advance the pawn to the seventh rank, it's not going anywhere, because there's all sorts of stalemate tricks and infinite checks. Now, you do want to be careful with black, because as we learned during the last video, it's just natural to want to get to put your rook behind the pawn. Now, you do have to be careful, because if you would try doing that, there's a lot of cases where you would end up getting checkmated. So I think the rook pawn is very, very simple. Now let's take a quick look at the knight pawn. Let me just get the position in here. Now the white pawn, it's the same exact concept for black. It does look a little more imposing. So if we start from this position, it's just natural for white to try to advance his king and pawn, and all black really needs to do is just the same exact defense. There's absolutely no reason to do anything, because when you get to this position, white can't make any progress. Because if you start checking, all black has to do is go to the king side, because the white king has no way of breaking through. Now you do need to be careful as black, because if you go away from the corner, now white's got a winning game, because now he controls the queening square. And if black would try to start checking from behind, at this point now, as we can see, white's got control of the queening square, and will eventually be able to set up a Lucena position, which we're going to be talking about in a future episode. So some other ideas for white to try to break through would be to you're probably thinking, well, what happens if white just advances the pawn all the way to the 7th rank? Well, the minute that white would ever do that, as we can see now, the king is exposed to checks along the rank. And so black can now just start harassing the white king. And the white king's got to be careful, because if you get too far away from the pawn, all black needs to do then is bring the rook back, and white has absolutely no way of preventing black from taking the pawn and then getting just a drawn game. Are there any other tricks to try? Not really. Basically, in these two unique positions with the rook and the knight pawns going up the board, black does not need to do any type of active defense at all. In fact, if you try to do some type of active defense, for example, in this position, as we talked about in the first video, we were saying that the rooks want to be behind the passed pawn in order to gain, in order to be active. You actually could run the risk if you would try that defense of perhaps running into some type of situation where like in this one, it's a little extreme, but all of a sudden you can get checkmated. But there could be some other situations where white would be, there could be some other situations where white could maybe set something up too if black gets too aggressive. So in this episode, the one thing I do want to stress is we'll just go back to the starting position, is whenever white has just a rook or a knight pawn, and the black or whatever side is the pawn down that's trying to draw, all you need to do is get your king in front of the pawn, guarding the queening square, and therefore preventing white from being able to make any progress. And these are the two examples where the black rook can just play the passive defense. In our next episode, we're going to be talking about the bishop and center pawns, where that isn't the case, where the passive defense will not work. But anyways, that ends that concludes lesson number 2 of my video lecture series on Rook and Pawn Endgames. Please hit the like and subscribe button and follow me for future videos. Thank you.